We got a brand new toy today, the Sony PlayStation Portal. This is the latest in Sony's hardware that they've released this year. And yes, I did buy all the hardware. Just gonna. Couple of things before we get started. Number one, this was not gifted to me. I paid for this with my own money, just like everybody else. I'm going to be giving my complete honest opinion. Speaking of my opinion, this is not a Steam Deck. This is not a Nintendo Switch, nor has Sony advertised it to be such. So I'm going in with open expectations of this being a remote player. This is a remote player. It will be reviewed as a remote player. Let's get into it. I'll be honest, man, there isn't a whole lot to this boxing at all. They put the cable on the inside, and then there's just the PS Portal. At first use, it feels nice. It feels really good. It's comfortable. It feels just like a PlayStation controller, and it has some weight to it. Not super heavy, but not light either. This is going to include all of your buttons from a standard PlayStation 5 controller. There's also a speaker and the volume button at the top right. To the top left, there's a speaker, the power button, and the PS Link button. Flipping it over to the back, there's a 3.5mm headphone jack for wired headphones, as well as a USB Type-C charging port. This is the PS Portal alongside one of my PS5 controllers. As you can see, pretty similar. Then I also wanted to do a side-by-side with the Nintendo Switch. As you can see, it's close, but the Portal is just slightly bigger, primarily because of the controllers on the side. Now here we have the thumbsticks. The thumbsticks on the Portal are just a little bit smaller than the thumbsticks on the PS5 controller, but it's nothing major. You won't feel a big difference, but I just want to point that out. The next step was to power it on, pick your settings, your language, etc., sign into your home Wi-Fi network, and then you can scan the mobile app on your phone and log right into your PS account. I had some updates, and while it was updating, I turned off the light so that you guys can see the LEDs on the side of the Portal, which match with lights are on the PS5 controller, which I thought was a very nice touch. Once you get signed in, you're all set. Really easy to set up. I know they said there's no Bluetooth, but I was very curious to see if I can get my USB Type-C headphones to work on here, and the answer is no, they did not work on the PS Portal itself. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Nugget. This is Yo Nut Gaming. Here I love to cover the latest in video game news, reviews, as well as tech. If those are some things that interest you, consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos. So how does this thing work? Well, for starters, this is the PS Portal and not PS Portable. I say that because you must have a PS5 for this to work, as this draws powers directly from the console. Black Friday and Christmas is coming up, and I would hate to see some little kid's parents and or grandparents who buys them one of these without them owning a PS5 first, and the disappointment on their face when they realize they can't use it without the console. When you get it set up to your PS5, you just go here to connect, and I love how it opens. Literally, it's a portal, so I like how they kind of had a portal opening, and now it mirrors everything that is on your PS5. I want to get into some of the most frequently asked questions that I've gotten. Is it touchscreen? Kinda. It's very limited. It's essentially your touchpad, but you can touch here in certain places, or maybe here at the top for settings and go through your settings. So it's limited touchscreen. It's not a full-on anywhere on the screen touchscreen. Audio wise, you can connect any headphones that have a 3.5mm headphone jack, or the headphones that they are selling right now with the new PS Link software for $200 and $250 respectively. Those aren't really ideal options. What I did do, however, is plug in my Bluetooth headphones to my PS5, and I could still hear everything since it is mirroring technology. So that's a little workaround for those who don't want to necessarily go wired or don't want to go with the new headphones that cost a lot of money. Another question that people had is this only compatible with Sony exclusive games? And the answer is no. You can play any game that is on your console and any game that is on your extended storage drive. I personally have an internal SSD, and it works with every game on there as well. Is there input delay? Now, yes and no. There is input delay, but it's so minuscule, I couldn't even tell. However, I was able to go into Gran Turismo, do a time race, and I can see that there's a tiny 0.1 of a second difference delay. So the average person won't see that. However, what does that mean as far as multiplayer games? Well, for Call of Duty, I was able to play okay. However, I do feel like it felt a tad bit behind with that 0.1 of a second delay, because in FPS shooter games, you kind of need that extra millisecond to get that drop on somebody for that kill. But other than a multiplayer game like that, you should be fine. And even in Call of Duty, I didn't feel like it was unplayable. So I would say all in all, single player games work perfectly. Multiplayer games, depending on how fast paced it is, you may notice a split delay. Let's get into price, because price and worth can be extremely subjective. So I really want to touch on this. This costs $200, $213 with tax, right? And a lot of people are saying, well, I can just get the Sony Backbone for $100, which you can, but make no mistake about it. The Backbone is $100 plus your phone. Everybody might not want a game on their phone. Personally, I don't want a game on my phone. I'm in no way shaming anybody who does. If you think the Backbone is a better deal, by all means, but I don't want to kind of minimize what this is because they also have a Backbone. Number two, $200 is the same price that I paid for the DualSense Edge Pro controller, and the same price that I paid for the Microsoft Elite 2 controller. So essentially what I'm getting is another Elite controller, or the price of an Elite controller with the screen in the middle. This is, again, a very niche product, but a lot of times I feel like I'm the target audience for these niche products because I love gaming tech. So somebody would say a controller, $200 for a controller, is ridiculous. But for me, hey, I like to have these powders back here whenever I play FPS games, Overwatch, Apex, Fortnite. Some people would say, hey, you know, a controller screen, remote play that I can't take out on the go and play offline is not worth it. But for me, I enjoy being able to game from my bedroom, on the couch, in the living room, wherever, and not having to be stuck to my PS5 here in this particular room. So it's kind of like, I would say, niche products don't necessarily mean bad products, and niche products don't necessarily mean not value or waste of money. What might be a waste of money to you may work very well for somebody else. So just to kind of recap, let's go over the pros and the cons. For the pros, I have comfort, as it feels like you're holding a controller. You don't really feel as bulky. Very comfortable, not super heavy. It definitely has some weight on it. You're not gonna be able to hold this up with one arm for very long extended periods of time, but it's a very comfortable controller. Although most won't be using this feature, the speakers are another pro for me. They get extremely loud, and if you're somebody who's not using headphones, you won't have any issues hearing on this thing. This is a very nice screen. It's an LCD screen, but I'm actually surprised at the quality with it being LCD, and I'm a little surprised that they didn't go with OLED. I'm sure they had their reasonings, but the screen, you won't have any issues with that as well. Latency is the biggest one for me. I was very surprised that this had almost little to no latency. Like I said, 0.10 of a millisecond, so basically none. And I was also impressed that it was a direct one-to-one from my monitor to the portal without any issues. And my last pro, which we all knew, the fact that they threw in the haptic features. So you have all of the same haptic controls and the triggers and the DualSense rumbling that you would have in a regular DualSense controller. So we all know that the PS5 controller is the greatest controller ever. It's not really debatable. And the fact that they put that same technology into this, I'm very happy with that. But we have to get into the cons. Number one con is no Bluetooth. That's just a very strange thing. I'm not sure what Sony was thinking. I know that they were trying to sell their new earbuds and their new over-the-ear headset with the PS Link, and maybe they're saying that it was supposed to have a better connection by using their own software, but it seems a little bit predatory. It seems a little bit like a create a problem and sell us a solution rather than them really looking out for the connection. But I don't know for sure, but that's my first con. My second con is no offline play. Now, a ton of people are really upset about this one, and this is a con. However, I'm one of the few customers who understand why they didn't go with offline play. There's a lot of sheer technology, hardware, and software that will go into taking a PS5 and completely making it on the go. If you did that, you're going to be looking at a Steam Deck similar product, and the Steam Deck goes for like $600. So the fact that this is $200 should have let you know that there was going to be a ton of online play. Also, if for those of you who've been following Sony's products, like their VR2 and now their PS Portal, a lot of what they do is that they use their console to draw power, meaning that the PSVR2 connects into the console. It's not a wireless headset because they want the PS5 to kind of be the hub and draw the power. The same thing with this. This is connecting to your PS5 via remote play because they want that to draw the power, and they just kind of port the games over here. The whole point of this is not to necessarily be something that you just take and go play on the subway. This is more so a product that is drawing power from your PS5. That being said, no offline play is still a con, but I understand why they did what they did. And I think more people should understand why they did what they did. Now, these next three are cons that you probably haven't heard anybody else say because they're really my own nitpicks. So the first one, there's no stand at launch. So as of now, they didn't drop this with the stand. They didn't drop this with the charging stand or it just kind of dropped it. And so it's really hard to kind of prop this thing up. And I've seen some other creators kind of put it on their own personal stand. So I would have loved to them have a stand of some sort so I can set this in my setup or like a charging stand so I can just pop this down like that. You know, that would be the vision, is to have it sit like that and kind of be charging whenever I'm not playing it. I think it's kind of really old school that I have to plug this up and just leave it somewhere in the corner when all of Sony's other products all have stands. Even their VR2, if you look back there and you see my VR2 controllers, they have a charging stand that dropped with release. So I think this should have dropped with a charging stand as well. The second biggest one is no screen protector. We're in 2023. Anything electronic must have a screen protector. I've only been using this for about 8 hours now, and it's already a magnet for fingerprints. Look at that. Can y'all see those fingerprints right there? I mean, I'm not understanding why we didn't get a screen protector either at launch. Last, but probably the biggest, no carrying case at launch. I get that you're not maybe gonna take this all around town, but if we have nowhere to put this thing. You know, even if I was to say, hey, let me go to a hotel for the weekend and I want to take this with me, I can't. If I want to say, well, whenever I'm not gaming with it, I want to put it somewhere so that it's not, you know, subject to harm or getting knocked over or just collecting dust. I don't have a charging station. I don't have a carry case. I don't have a screen protector. This is a recipe for a disaster. I don't know how sturdy or how durable this is, and I don't want to do a drop test because I don't have the money to buy another one. But I just think that they could have done a little bit better with protecting the hardware. This is a very nice piece of hardware. We need some things to kind of protect it. So by now you're probably like, okay, guy, what is your verdict? Well, my verdict is that it's worth it to me. Of course, that is subjective, but I rated this as a remote player. This is an excellent remote player. What Sony advertised it to do, they do very well. They said this will be an accessory to the PS5, not a standalone console, and they delivered on that promise. I think a lot of times we got our expectations a little bit too high, wishing that we were getting maybe a PSP of old or a Steam Deck or a Switch. And they never really told us that they were going to give us that. They never advertised this to be that. So I can't knock them for not giving me something that I kind of made up in my own head. Again, this is a very niche product, and niche doesn't necessarily mean bad. It means it's just not for you. So who is this for, you may ask? Well, those who have only one TV in their home and maybe they just want to still play on their PS5. Those who have children and then maybe they need to just play a little bit of single player games while they're watching their kids. Those like me who are lazy and don't want to sit in the office all day and maybe want to go to the bed or the couch or the balcony or by the pool or something and play some games. And lastly, those who just like gaming tech and just wanted to experience something very new. I think this is a great experience. I think if you've bought all of Sony's other products like I have, this won't be too far-fetched for you, and I think that you would enjoy it. Who isn't this for? Well, if you're looking for a Switch, a Steam Deck, or something like that, but Sony, this is not it. If you're looking for something that you can take all over the world and game, this is not it. If you're looking for a PS5 on the go, this is not it. This is an accessory, and I really want everyone to have the proper expectations when buying this or thinking about purchasing this. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and my unboxing and initial thoughts on the PS Portal. I cannot wait to do a 6-month and maybe a year recap on how it's holding up. And that's all for this video. As always, my name is Nugget. I go by Nug for short. See you guys on the next one.